From the Joy News Center. This is News at 8.
A warm welcome to our viewers joining us from around the world on the internet, as well as those watching on ABN television in London. In this edition, 12 labour unions battling government over management of their Tier 2 pension contributions announced demonstration this Thursday. They say will bring over 100,000 workers onto the streets. 21 suspects are currently in custody after a bloody clash in the Upper West Regional capital left 8 persons seriously injured. Member of Parliament for Dabwe rebuked by his colleague MPs over comments suggesting the stoning of adulterous women. National Democratic Congress finally settles on December 13 as the date for its national executive elections. And in business, as Ghanaians await the presentation of the 2015 budget to Parliament on Wednesday, an economist is warning government is likely to introduce higher tax rates to improve its revenue mobilization efforts. There's more business. George Addo Jr. will also be here with sports. Then we have showbiz and international news all coming up in the next 60 minutes. Stay tuned.
News at 8 with Israel Lai.
In our very first story, police in the Upper West Regional capital have arrested 21 suspects in connection with bloody clashes in the town earlier Tuesday. At least 8 people are said to have sustained machete and gunshot wounds in the clashes between residents of Juje Dariri and Dondoli communities. Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports the two communities had been living together peacefully, although there have been minor disagreements over a parcel of land at the old cemetery in Wa.
The two communities, Dondoli and Jujedairi, are both descendants of Imam Ya Moro, who migrated to Wa from the ancient Malian town of Mande several centuries ago. The two families are so closely knit, it is usually difficult to differentiate between them. The relationship was, however, soured a few years ago over a parcel of land at the Wa Old Cemetery. The case was reported to the Wa police and later taken to the Wa High Court for adjudication and has since been pending. The clashes, which erupted last Sunday, was between youth from the two communities over the said parcel of land, and 2 people sustained cutlass wounds. The situation, however, deteriorated Monday night, but this time as a religious conflict between the Ahmadi and the Orthodox Muslims, resulting in the destruction of several properties. 2 minivans, houses and stores were burnt. A vulcanizer's shop packed with tires was also destroyed. 8 people sustained gun and machete wounds and were rushed to the Wa Regional Hospital. The timely arrival of the police and personnel from the Airborne Force Detachment, Wa, prevented the situation from getting bloodier. Upper West Regional Minister Amin Amidu Suleimani on Tuesday morning led members of the Upper West Regional Security Council to meet separately members of the 2 feuding factions to resolve the situation.
I want to plead particularly the elders. That's why we came to them. In every situation, we didn't choose to call the youth to a meeting, we've called the elders, but we know whatever it is, they will have patience and restrain those of us with hot blood from being certain. That's why we have come to them. So I want to plead with them. At this moment, all these temperatures should come down. We want the town to cool. Then we go into some of these things they're talking about.
They first met the leadership of the Dondoli community, led by Alhaji Babakbong, who thanked the delegation for the visit and swore to restrain his men any violent activity on condition that they will not be attacked by their cousins from the other side.
One of the candidates and you put the Cabin or Nalanyo. I do cut away by Leon Carangama. Can't want to balance when you're in it, taking a yellow jamba. I'm moving to me. Slamming to mine, I'm moving to me. I yell by a chief. When kid and them come, Dante and Mutia, a best and black. Kid and them come. A buyer, General and anyone patrol. Cut by to never cut out you. What bad lay a lot of he knew where the cabin came back at her. What's my? I do at the 2 p.m.
The delegation then moved to the Jujedairi to meet with the elders of the community. The leader of the community, Alhaji Al-Hassan bin Sali, thanked members of the Upper West delegation for the visit and also pledged to work to maintain peace. He appealed to the police to perform their roles without fear or favor.
If we too had known that what happened last night was going to happen, we were capable of doing something better than the casualties we suffered. But as I'm saying, we want nothing but peace. I had seen it before, and I know how destructive it could be.
The Upper West Regional Minister and his team then visited the male surgical ward of the Wa Regional Hospital, where 5 of the victims were admitted. 2 of them had 5 pellets yet to be removed from their bodies. 3 other victims have, however, been discharged. Meanwhile, 21 people have so far been arrested in connection with the clashes. Security personnel in the Wa Township have promised to keep the peace and have intensified their patrols. A report by Rafiq Salam from Wa.
Over 100,000 workers are expected to hit the streets on Thursday, November 20, in a nationwide demonstration by some 12 labor unions battling government over the management of their Tier 2 pension contributions. Whilst the unions who were forced to call off a strike in the standoff with government insist they should be allowed to choose their own managers of the pension contributions, government says it has a role as the employer to make that appointment. Officials at a news conference in Accra stated that the demonstration has become necessary because of government intransigence.
To show how serious they are about Thursday's demonstration, the leaders of the 12 unions had deployed a public information van to alert workers about the impending exercise. The Forum for Public Sector Pension Scheme is organizing a demonstration for all workers on Thursday, 20th November 2014 in Accra and Kumasi. Time, 7 a.m. prompt. Starting point in Accra is Obra Sport. Dress code, red and black. Team, we want our Tier 2 pension money now. We want our Tier 2 pension money now. Our pension is our future income security. Our pension is our future income security. Let us all get involved to save our future. Thank you. Later at a news conference, officials expressed their frustrations on what they described as the failure by government to still heed to their demands, despite several stakeholder meetings.
We have taken this path to bring to the attention of the public our frustrations due to the impediments placed in our way to operate the 4 public sector schemes registered and licensed by the National Pensions Regulatory Authority to operate the Tier 2 pensions. As you are aware, our series of press interactions since the year 2012 on the imposition of a trust on all public sector workers, contrary to the National Pensions Act 2008, Act 766, are well known to you. It is important to know that the numerous meetings with the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, and other government officials have not yielded any results.
Thursday's demonstration is expected to attract workers in the Greater Accra and Ashanti regions.
We agree that the converging point for the Accra one is Obra Sport, and we are using the same traditional route that we use for demonstrations here in Accra. So Obrasport through Farisco all the way to Adabraka Highway to TUC Junction, and then from TUC we move straight to Accra Poly route all the way to Ghana Lotteries, and then we end our demonstrations at House of Folk Park. The Kumasi demonstrations, the converging point is a cultural center, and they will end the demonstration at Jubilee Park in Asafo. And so we've agreed on the route with the police here in Accra and that of Kumasi. We are expecting over 100,000 workers to come onto the street on Thursday here in Kumasi and in Accra. And we've also extended invitation to ICU, Intema and TUC. So quite apart from the 12 unions, all affiliate workers who are affiliated to TUC are supposed to also join us.
Eric Curtis Howard, Joy News.
In other news, the Member of Parliament for Daboya Makuvrigu, who suggested that women who commit adultery should be stoned, has been rebuked by his colleagues. Nelson Abudubani, in an interview on Joy FM on the Interstate Succession Bill, was of the opinion that the sanction should be included in the bill currently under consideration. He has since publicly apologized for the comments. This, however, did not stop his colleagues from taking him on the floor of Parliament on Tuesday.
Deputy Minority Leader Dominic Nitiwo, who raised the issue on Tuesday, stated emphatically that the House could not be in support of such a suggestion and described as unfortunate media reports that the statement was made on the floor of the House whilst other MPs looked on unconcerned.
It is absolutely unacceptable for anybody to make that kind of statement. I do agree about that. And I will not in any way stand in for him or anybody who will make such a statement. But the point, Mr. Speaker, to impugn that members of Parliament were sitting here, and the Honourable made a statement that women should be stoned for bringing adulterous children to the House, and we did nothing about it. When the journalists who carried the story know that it was not true that that statement was made in this House, it's very unfortunate.
The issue is clear. Since he has rendered an apology on air, my majority leader has also indicated that as a caucus, we are going to take the matter up and then see what we can do.
The apology is not accepted. When he said, "What are you afraid of?" Okay, if I didn't, you say I didn't say it in a better way. I apologize. But what are you afraid of? Are you afraid that you'll be stoned? So if you want to apologize and then you add this, then Mr. Speaker is not acceptable.
Women MPs also raised issues with the MP for Daboya for describing some women as Alomo Jata.
For a member of Parliament to say that some women are Alomo Jates and go out and bring children to their husbands, and that those women ought to be punished. That part can never be part of a law, of a bill in this House. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, I would ask you to have it expunged from the record.
The MP for Daboya Makarigu has come in for a lot of flack for his comments, with some calling for his removal from the House. The Interstate Succession Bill 2013, currently before Parliament, is expected to rectify some defaults in the Interstate Succession Act, PNDC Law 111, as well as ceding more rights to women whose husbands die interstate. Aisha Ibrahim, Joy News, Parliament, Accra.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Comfort Doyo Gansa, had a tough task Tuesday, convincing members of Parliament how her ministry intends to deal with the head porter phenomenon popularly known as Kayaye. Members of Parliament, especially from the minority side, accused the Deputy Minister of not being specific on measures taken by her ministry to address the problem.
The question on what measures the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection is putting in place to address the problems of Kayaye has been on the table for almost 4 months with no answers from the minister. Debates got heated when the Deputy Minister Comfort Doyo Gansa stepped in for her boss, Nanoye Litha.
A national stakeholder forum has been slated for 18th to 19th November to discuss actions suitable to nip Kayaye in the bud. A nationwide data collection is being planned to enable the collection of accurate figures on Kaya to enable the government to take informed decisions and also enhance monitoring and evaluation.
Member of Parliament for Oforikrum, Elizabeth Ajeman, who has been on the case of the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection for a lasting solution to the Kaya menace, expressed disappointment at the answers provided by the Deputy Minister.
My question is that, answer the question. We want a plan of action from your ministry, which you haven't told the House about.
I posed a specific question that, what are they doing for the Kayayes? So the answer should have been, maybe we have planned to send the small ones to school or something of the sort. And what she came to do, and I don't even understand why Nana Oyelita herself doesn't want to come to the floor to answer questions. This minister was just posted to the ministry, this deputy minister, so she's not been there for even 2 months. I'm not sure she even understood what she was doing on the floor.
The Kaya phenomenon has over time become a developmental issue, but the deputy minister says government is committed to finding strategies that will bring a lasting solution to it. Aisha Ibrahim, Joy News, Parliament, Accra.
Still in Parliament, MPs are calling for the strict enforcement of sanctions against public office holders who abuse their office. The MPs also expressed worry several of the country's laws are not being enforced and unanimously urged the executive arm of government to be up to the task. The parliamentarians were debating the Conduct of Public Officers Bill 2013, which has been read for the second time in Parliament.
As public officials, we should be regulated. Our conduct should be of no question, because we hold positions of trust, and the people of Ghana trust us that we can do that work. That is why we've been appointed. So we are always disappointing people if we don't behave the way we should. Every breach of the law of the land should necessarily attract a sanction, irrespective of the person involved. It should be understood. It should be part of the grooming of our children at school and basics at every level, that a breach of the law should attract a sanction.
So I'm supporting this bill. I'm urging the president that, and I believe this House will do justice to the bill and ensure that it is enacted to law. When it becomes law, let the president move, let him take action. Let's move away from rhetoric to action. That is what the people of this country want from us.
In Ghana, often the accusation is at the level of Minister of State, Deputy Minister. I think that we should even expand the remit of asset declaration to affect some chief executive officers of our republic who are also controlling huge sums of state resources. So whilst I agree with him, I think we need this legislative piece in order to add to our effort to combat corruption in the country.
Dr. Hine Nana Mwetiofori Penning II has warned that Ghana is gradually getting to a point where insanitary conditions are regarded as normal. It says the country will be doomed if the situation is not checked. Dr. Hine was addressing a public lecture to launch the Improved Sanitation Now campaign, a collaboration between the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development and World Vision Ghana.
The Ochihene decried the poor sanitation culture, saying something radical had to be done about it.
Sanitation is more than independence. It is so true today. The independence we got as we speak now is meaningless if we live in filth. If after several years cholera and malaria and diarrhea and other things are killing our children, diseases that could be prevented by maybe 2 cities are killing our children. What is there to be proud of our independence?
But government, according to the local government minister, is committed more than ever to address the sanitation challenge.
This explains why government has allocated resources with renewed commitment and urgency towards the fight against poor sanitation and hygiene. The government's 2014 Sanitation and Water for All commitment and the recent launch of the National Sanitation Day, among other initiatives, bear ample testimony to our determination to address the sanitation challenge which has confronted this country for decades. We are prepared to hold the bull by the horn and to do everything in our mandate to achieve lasting results.
The local government minister, Julius Debra, commended non-governmental organizations such as World Vision for their support in ensuring a clean Ghana. World Vision Ghana, under the Improved Sanitation Now campaign, is making available 7.5 million Ghana cedis, which will be used to provide toilet and drainage facilities, especially in rural communities.
It is our fervent belief that the outcome of this public lecture will provide us with the recommendations for implementing improved sanitation now and other sanitation and hygiene activities in all the districts that we work in, and indeed all over Ghana. This will enable us to improve the health outcome, promote child well-being, and realize our vision for every child life in all its fullness.
National Director Hubert Charles says the initiative, coming on the 35th anniversary of World Vision, is in furtherance of its commitment to water, sanitation and hygiene activities over the years.
We'll bring you more news after the break. The National Democratic Congress has announced a date for the party's National Congress. The election, which was supposed to have been held in October, failed to come off due to a number of reasons, including some legal suits by some members of the party. General Secretary Johnson Isidinketu, however, says the party has managed to resolve the disputes and settled on Saturday, December 13, to hold elections for its national executive officers.
The NDC was initially scheduled to hold its National Congress from Friday, October 24 to Sunday, October 26, but was unable to do so due to some lawsuits brought against the party by some party faithfuls. Notable among the cases was the one involving Linus Njonola, who had taken the party to court for what he claims was his unfair disqualification in the contest for regional secretary. The General Secretary, however, says all that is now out of the way.
We have just concluded all the elections that should precede the holding of the National Congress. And because of that, the way is now open for us to proceed to announce the timetable for the 8th National Delegates Congress of the National Democratic Congress. Following a series of meetings that we have held, the party has decided to hold the 8th National Delegates Congress of the party on the 13th of December 2014 at Kumasi Sports Stadium.
Isidinketu notes, however, that the party still has outstanding issues in some 11 constituencies, but maintains they are not enough to stop the Congress.
We did not put any constituency on hold, but we have issues in 11 constituencies throughout the country. 11 constituencies throughout the country. And we hope to resolve these matters before Congress. But in any event, those issues cannot prevent Congress from taking place. Our laws stipulate that whenever you have 2/3 of the constituencies concluding their conferences successfully, you are free to proceed to hold regional conferences.
Meanwhile, former local government minister under the Mills administration and two-time national organizer of the NDC, Samuel Ofusampofo, has been talking up his chances of winning the national vice chairmanship slot ahead of the much-anticipated Congress.
In the history of the party, I'm the longest-serving national organizer of the party. I have led the party through thick and thin, both within and outside the country, opening branches of the party in Toronto, US, and several countries. So I believe that having worked with the party, having represented the party on IPAC for 8 years, I was the architect of the party organization system. I am among the person who spearheaded the 2008 campaign, which brought Prosamus to the presidency. So the party people recognize my contribution. And then DC are always ready to reward hard work, commitment and dedication.
With the elections just a month away, it is expected that the campaign for various positions in the party will pick up a lot more steam. For Joy News, Kwabena Chenchen Hineboating.
The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, together with the World Bank, has organized a one-day social protection conference to raise awareness on the role of social protection in Ghana's economic development. The conference hopes to sensitize the public about the importance of social protection provisions, the objectives of national policies, and to disseminate progress made towards building a social protection system that addresses the country's needs.
Social protection policies and programs are becoming more common in developed and developing countries. These policies are increasingly being recognized as effective ways to help individuals and societies manage risk related to poverty, old age, illness, disability and unemployment through income support, temporary employment and social services. In Ghana, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection was created in 2013 to coordinate government social intervention programs in the country. The ministry is currently implementing 44 social protection interventions with the support of some key development partners. At the first Social Protection Conference in Ghana, Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Nana Oyelitha, said the ministry has placed social protection high on government's agenda and is further committed to ensuring a successful social protection system.
The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, with support from our development partners, have developed and are implementing a national common targeting mechanism to identify and select potential beneficiaries for social protection interventions. With support from our partners, we are also establishing a national single registry for social protection. We have also initiated processes to provide priority service in health, transport, banking to the elderly. And just last week, we inaugurated the first ever advisory council for the aged.
Beneficiaries of some of these programs shared their experiences.
My husband and I relocated from the north to Kumasi to seek greener pastures, but life wasn't easy for us there. Someone told me about GSOP, so we went back to north to enroll in the program. Life is now better for us.
My father disowned me because I chose to go to school instead of helping him fish. I had to drop out and serve other fishermen so I can feed myself. After enrolling in GSOP, I have been able to save some money to buy a canoe for myself.
In a speech read on his behalf, President John Dramani Mahama said he is committed to ensuring equitable distribution of Ghana's wealth and to empower the youth.
Our government has no room for complacency in addressing poverty and inequality in Ghana. As a social democratic government that places the people at the center of this nation's development, addressing poverty and building an equitable and just society leading to inclusive growth and shared prosperity, especially among the poorest in the population, is our major priority. More importantly, we are keen to ensure that social protection programs target our youth.
Brazil's former Minister for Social Development and Fight Against Hunger, Marcia Helena Carvalho, lauded Ghana for its social protection interventions, adding that many families in Brazil have benefited from similar programs.
13 persons have been discharged from prison, 42 granted bail, while 13 applications were refused when the Justice for All program took its turn in the central region. Some of the persons have been in jail for over 20 years without a trial. A report by Richard Kujonyako.
Up to 1/3 of Ghana's prison population consists of prisoners who are detained while awaiting trial. The situation has necessitated the Access to Justice project that seeks to ease prison overcrowding by setting up special courts to adjudicate remand prisoner cases in prisons throughout the country with the support of the judiciary, the Office of the Attorney General, the Ghana Prison Service, and the Ghana Bar Association. The project is currently conducting research and advocacy for the purpose of closing the primary legislative loopholes which permits the indeterminate detention of unconvicted prisoners. Article 14 of the 1992 Constitution declares that a person who is arrested or detained but has not received a trial within a reasonable period of time is entitled to unconditional release or release subject to conditions necessary for reappearance for judicial proceedings. On the basis of this, 2 sessions of the Justice for All program were held in the Central Region. 3 judges sat on the cases of persons who have been unconstitutionally remanded in the Winneba and Ankerfo prisons. 56 applicants, 11 were discharged, 42 granted bail, and 13 applications were refused. Justice Clemens Onyenuga speaks for the judges.
The Justice for All program, the ultimate aim is to decongest the prisons of persons who have been unlawfully or unconstitutionally remanded for offences for which they should not have been remanded, particularly when they are bailable offences, or people who have been granted bail and bail terms are so unlawful that they could not meet and others.
POS Foundation, a non-governmental organization of young Ghanaians promoting youth development, human rights and social justice for collective development, spearheaded the campaign. CEO for POS Foundation, Jonathan Osei Wusu, says the move is necessary to guarantee liberties of individuals.
He was freed today. His case was discharged, and he spent close to 20 years in prison. He is saying 36 years, but let's be, modest. If we are talking about even 20 years, you can't think about somebody who has been accused, does not stand trial, and has been inside for 20 good years. And you heard what happened in court. It's gradually affecting his mind, the way he thinks. How can he have 200 children, 100 boys and 100 girls? You see, he has been here for a very long time. If we do this to citizens of our country, we are being inhuman. And so we all need to be concerned and come on board that it may happen to you, it may happen to your friend. You don't have to wait till these things, law is caught up with you or your friend. That is where you know that the law exists and some people are not being treated well. So remand issue is an issue that we want to at least have a lasting solution to, that we are still fighting for.
A report by Richard Kujonyako.
We're taking a break. We have sports next.
Right, let's do some sports now. And with 10 countries already qualified for the African Cup of Nations next year in Equatorial Guinea, 6 spots are up for grabs in Wednesday's final round of matches. And 3 of Africa's representatives, including Ghana, at this year's World Cup could miss the medal. Ghana, Nigeria and Ivory Coast faced nervous finishes to the African Cup of Nations qualifying this week, and the embarrassment of possibly sitting out the Continental Championship only months after playing at the World Cup. The 3 are not yet setting of a place at next year's tournament with a round of games to go. Ghana sit top of Group E, but a surprise 1-0 loss in Uganda, while Captain Asamoah Gyan was missing with injury means there's still work to do for the former World Cup quarter-finalists at home against Togo. Guinea's commanding 4-1 victory in Togo in the penultimate round means any 2 of the 4 teams can still qualify automatically as top 2 finishers in the group. Defending champions Nigeria's situation was dire after they failed to win any of their first 3 qualifiers and responded by firing the 2013 Africa Cup winning coach Stephen Keshi. Nigeria won 2-0 in the Republic of Congo this weekend to climb into the qualifying places. That means Nigeria would scrape through if it beats already qualified South Africa at home on Wednesday. However, anything less could see Republic of Congo go through. Ivory Coast also lifted itself back into contention with a 5-1 rout of Sierra Leone. But he also faces an already qualified opponent in Cameroon. A draw in Abidjan will seal Ivory Coast's place in Equatorial Guinea ahead of Congo. One of the biggest surprises to make it to Equatorial Guinea will be Malawi, which will book its place if its result at Ethiopia is better than Mali's at home against Algeria. Mali will be made more nervous by the fact that the Algerians have won 5 from 5 in qualifying in an impressive start under new coach Christian Gurkov and appear to be early favourites to win the overall title next year. Having missed out on the 2 automatic places from Group G, record 7-time African champions Egypt can only hope to qualify as the best third-place team from the 7 groups. Egypt probably needs to win against Tunisia to have a chance of that, or it will likely miss out on a 3rd straight African Cup after winning the last time it played in 2010. Algeria, Cape Verde, Tunisia, South Africa, Zambia, Cameroon, Burkina Faso, Gabon and Senegal have already qualified alongside Equatorial Guinea, the new standing host. Fantastic build-up to what will happen tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Black Stars held their final training at the Tamale Stadium ahead of tomorrow's AFCON clash with Togo. But it's still unclear if Asamoah Gyan will feature in the game. Joyce was caught up with Scout, who's been working closely with the coach Maxwell Konedu, and he's the man, Coach Eben Sifa. He's giving us an idea of what to expect in the starting lineup tomorrow.
I should expect he's played 3 games. He has given us results. Although he's a little bit sluggish, I think that he marshals the defense very well. I watched him in Togo against Togo. I watched him against Guinea, and I think he did pretty well. And for me, I think starting him will be good. And coming up front, you look at Solomon Asante. Although he reported late, I thought he kept so long on the bench in Kampala. And what we are seeing here, I'm sure he's going to start Solomon Asante, and I think he's going to be the key for our victory tomorrow. You know, Ghana needs a draw to qualify, and Togo needs a win to qualify. So what Maswan needs to do is to finish the game in the first 45 minutes.
We'll see if that happens. Certainly, let's do some more. We can talk about FIFA because FIFA has submitted a criminal complaint to Switzerland's Attorney General after a 2-year investigation into possible World Cup corruption.
Football's world governing body has come in for some heavy criticism after a report was published last week into allegations of corruption involved in the bidding for both the 2018 and 2022 World Cups. That was after Judge Hans-Joachim Eckert's report cleared Russia and Qatar to host the respective tournaments. Today, though, FIFA has lodged a criminal complaint against individuals connected to those bidding processes. No names have yet been mentioned, and there is still no threat to the status of either host nation, with ethics judge Eckert saying today there is insufficient evidence to do so. FIFA is also in the news for launching a campaign to help combat the spread of Ebola. In conjunction with African football body CAF and the World Bank, FIFA has enlisted some of the world's top footballers to raise awareness about the deadly disease.
Now we can just finish you with some news coming through in terms of the friendlies going on. International friendlies, a number of teams are playing. We can talk about Portugal up against Argentina. And for those of you who still be wondering, well, who is the best player in the world in terms of Cristiano Ronaldo versus Lionel Messi, this game is ongoing at Old Trafford. Surprisingly, a team that's not doing so at Old Trafford. The so-called fortress of Manchester United, they're not doing quite well, but this is a lovely game to watch actually, with Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi in there. The scoreline is currently goalless between the two. And we can also talk about Brazil. They just won against Austria. They won by 2-1. It was a closely contested game. Austria were playing, at home, and Brazil were playing away. They managed to win that. So good news for Dunga, who is back in charge for Brazil. That'll be all for sports tonight. I'm George Adler Jr. Abigail Adumaku-Enchi will join us with business. Have a good night.
Hello there, time now for some business reports with me, Abigail Adumaku-Enchi. Now, an economist and lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Godfred Bokwing, says government is likely to increase tax rates when the 2015 budget is presented to Parliament on Wednesday. According to him, the current situation the country is faced with calls for an increase in revenue mobilization to enable government to meet its commitments.
Yeah, that is unavoidable.
So we should be expecting an increase in the taxes we are paying currently?
Yeah, we should expect that, and I will be very surprised if that is not in there, and it doesn't have to be new taxes. It could just be an improved way of managing the existing tax system that we have, and that in itself could bring more revenue. You don't need to introduce new taxes as a way of enhancing your revenue envelope. Can we be efficient with the administration of our revenue tax collection system? If we can do well here, then the savings that we can make there can compensate for the fact that we are not introducing new taxes. We have to be very careful that we don't burden the faithful few.
Dr. Bokping, however, adds that government needs to have a strategy to deal with the fiscal indiscipline that has resulted in the current crisis.
I don't want to raise the expectations of people so much because it's just a budget. And budgets are not actuals. So you could have a very beautiful budget, but if you don't have a strategy to translate it into actuals, it will only remain a record. So that's my understanding. But we have some kind of engagement with the IMF, and I expect that the budget will be fashioned along that line. We are in this situation largely because of the 2012 election expenditures, which were not necessarily for productivity. Okay, so if you spend in that manner, then you realize that the inflationary pressures of that expenditure cannot be unexpected.
Managing Director of Ecobank Ghana, Samuel Ashiteje, says it will be virtually impossible for banks to reduce their interest rates if Treasury bill rates continue to remain at the current levels. He says banks will rather invest in Treasury bills if their lending rates remain lower than the T-bill rates. The MD of Ecobank was speaking to journalists after the parent company of the Pan-African banking group, Ecobank Transnational Incorporated, took its turn at the Ghana Stock Exchange's Facts Behind the Figures session.
I think all banks refer to the risk-free rates. When we talk about the risk-free rates, we are referring to the Treasury bill rates. If the T-bill rate comes down to 10%, I'm sure banks will lend between 12 and 18%. If you have a risk-free rate, which is 25%, what do you think our shareholders would tell us if we go lending below the Treasury bill rate of 25%? When our shareholders could have invested in T-bills with no risk and return 25% cool. So unless the T-bill rate comes down, lending rates will continue to be high. And as I said earlier on, if the T-bill rate comes to 5%, banks will lend around 8–10%. So let's refer everything to the level of the Treasury bill rates.
ETI's profits before tax moved from $117 million in the first quarter of this year to $153 million for the third quarter, ending with $408 million by September 30. The bank's total assets as at September 30 also stood at $23.4 billion, with a total equity of $2.4 billion. Group CEO Albert Asian, addressing the waning African interest in the shareholding structure, insisted that although the bank has support from foreign investors, it will remain an African bank.
You have Qatar money in Barclays Bank. You have Singaporean money, Temasek, in Standard Chartered Bank. Do they make them Singaporean or Qatari banks? They are still British banks, isn't it? The African identity will still be there for the future. It's a question of attracting also funds from where we need to have the funds to propel the business in the interest of Africa. The world is a global village. The character of the institution should not be largely informed by, say, a source that you get capital.
He added that the bank has ended its expansion works as it is in virtually all sub-Saharan countries it needs to be in. ETI is also promising to deliver on its customer service, continue to focus on revenue growth, cost efficiency, risk management, and enhance its capital structure in light of regulatory changes. Abigail Adomakunchi for Joy News. Away from EcoBank to ECOWAS, Ghana is set to adopt the ECOWAS Common External Tariff CET by January 2015. Well, the CET, which is to help deepen regional integration, will also help raise 986 million cedis in additional revenues from import duties after its commencement. The ECOWAS Common External Tariff Regime, according to government, would ensure the free movement of all members of ECOWAS at the borders and to guarantee that the same duties are paid on goods from neighboring countries. The move, which is in line with Article 3 of the ECOWAS Treaty for the Ministry of Trade and Industry, will minimize smuggling.
It is expected that all the ECOWAS member states will be collecting the same tariffs at their border points. So you bear with me that when it is fully implemented, it will go a long way to even minimize smuggling. Because, for example, if you take even vehicles, as it stands now, some people will just import vehicles through maybe Lome Port and then use ways and means and enter just to avoid payment of import duties and taxes. But once the common external tariff come into fruition, what will happen is that irrespective of wherever you bring the vehicle, you are going to pay import duty anyway.
Customs revenue is meanwhile to increase to 686 million cedis, while the removal of all exemptions will add on 300 million cedis. The GRA says the implementation will be made flexible in the first 5 years to ensure fruitful harmony.
It's not in any way going to affect our procedures and then processes in terms of how to apply duty rates on the CIF, and no, it's not going to affect them. But just that the duty rates have changed and we're going to do so. But let me hint to you, the implementation at the initial stage is going to be a lot of flexibility. For instance, some of the exemptions will still be applicable. Yes, because yes, they are still at the stage of being harmonized. Now, for instance, when it comes to the manufacturers, the concession rate, we have a concessional rate which is applied under Chapter 98 of our tariff. It will still be enforced same as other exemptions until the exemptions are harmonized at the ECOWAS level. Some of these exemptions will still be enforced.
Rice is, however, to be affected with a 10% tariff charge across board, but analysts believe a well-integrated CET will augur well for the country.
We import more rice in this country, and rice is slightly affected. Rice is affected considering all the other agricultural commodities in this respect or regard. With the CET, it's slightly affected because it's 10%, and it's going to be the same in the whole sub-region. So in this regard, governments would have to, look at the safeguard measures. There are safeguard supplementary protection measures. Those were what I said my second presenter will be hammering more on them. There are tax measures, countervailing measures that seek to tailor CET with regards to the local economies.
ECOWAS finance ministers will meanwhile meet on the 24th of November 2014 to discuss how the implementation process will be done. Abigail Adamakwenchi for Joy News. And that's it for business.
Comedian Funny Face is leaving nothing to chance as far as his relationship with his more youthful fans are concerned. The comedian, who now combines a radio job with a music career and acting, at the weekend held the 4th edition of his Funny Face Festival at the Ifua Sutherland Park in Accra, and the turnout was impressive.
Children learn best when they have fun, but unfortunately the absence of many playgrounds, even at school, means lots of Ghanaian children are deprived the opportunity to expand their creativity. So it came as no surprise that hundreds of children and some parents thronged the Ifua Sutherland Park over the weekend for Funny Face Festival. The festival afforded the children the opportunity to partake in various fun activities, and they were also entertained by the comedian and some other artists. annual festival put together by Funny Face was this year supported by Multi TV. Considered one of the most sought-after children events, organizers say they are working to make the subsequent edition much better. They are hoping it ends up as the #1 fun event on the calendar of every child in Ghana.
Fabio for showbiz. So 12 labor unions battling government over management of their Tier 2 pension contributions have announced a demonstration this Thursday they say will bring over 100,000 workers onto the streets. 21 suspects are currently in custody after a bloody clash in the Upper West Regional Capital, while left 8 persons seriously injured. Member of Parliament for Daboya rebuked by his colleague MPs over comments suggesting the stoning of adulterous women. National Democratic Congress finally settles on December 13 as the date for its national executive elections. And in business, as Ghanaians await the presentation of the 2015 budget to Parliament on Wednesday, an economist is warning government is likely to introduce higher tax rates to improve its revenue mobilization efforts. And that'll be all. My name is Israelite. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good evening.